Hello and welcome to Season 5, Episode 5 of Logicast, the AWS News podcast brought to you by Logicata. I'm Carl Robinson, CEO and co-founder of Logicata, and I'm joined today by my brother in swag, Principal Cloud Engineer, John Goodall. How are you doing today, John? We're wearing the same T-shirt again in case, for people who are not watching on YouTube, if you're listening, John and I have a very similar wardrobe due to the company we work for and the conferences we attend. And occasionally we turn up to meetings and recordings wearing the same stuff. It's not coordinated, I can assure you.
No, but I think it's because we have similar kind of tastes in things, which I don't know if that means you're thinking young or I'm an old fart. I don't know, because you're nearly 20 years older than me.
I'm young beyond my years. Young beyond my years.
I don't think we've ever turned up in, because we both used to work for the same firm before as well, but I don't think we've ever swag clashed in legacy swag. I don't think we've ever done that.
I don't know where my CloudReach t-shirts are, actually, so they're probably at the bottom of a pile somewhere. But
I had 3 or 4. I can only find one now, so I assume they've gone in the bin somewhere.
I mean, I really only wear 5 t-shirts, because it's one per day for the week. Then they get washed, then they go back on the pile, and it's the same 5 t-shirts.
And you just don't wear a shirt at the weekend.
Yeah. No, I don't wear swag at the weekend. So I wear civilian clothing, I think they call it. But
that's all I own.
Yeah, most of what I own is now swag. But let's introduce today's returning guest. I'm not sure how many times you've been on the podcast now, Brian. I think this is the 4th time, or is this the 5th time? So this will be number 5. We're delighted to welcome back for the 5th time AWS hero, Brian Tarbox. How are you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing great. I'm in Boston area where it's the coldest winter we've seen in ages. But, it's all good. And so got a shout out to Kaylin. And also, I'm probably still your only guest ever who's a member of the International Marine Animal Trainers Association.
Probably. Is that a genuine thing then?
That's a real thing. That's for all trainers of dolphins and whales and seals and so on.
Fair enough. So do you train them to do shows and things like that at SeaWorld or?
Back in the day, I got my master's in cognitive psych at the University of Hawaii doing language research with dolphins.
Oh, nice. Because I know you've mentioned dolphins before. In fact, I think maybe you mentioned a blog post that you'd done something to do with dolphins on a previous episode when we had you on. But I didn't realize that that was the background from it. But
absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So is that your own design then, those 2 logos? Because I can't imagine they appear together very often.
Well, no, this is Kaylin's design and this is Imada's design, and I just smushed them
merged
together.
them. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it's a talking point for sure.
Right.
What have you been up to since we last had you on the podcast, Brian?
Well, I'm now the co-host or co-organizer of Kaylin's neurodivergent employee group, and so we are supporting neurodivergence. In the United States, they say something like 20 to 30% of the general population is neurodivergent, and probably 80% of the tech population is neurodivergent. And I actually just wrote
why.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I actually just wrote a blog which y'all are putting in the show notes, titled "The Computer Never Was Sarcastic," and the idea is that you got to have a hook. That part of the reason maybe some of us got into computers was that it was deterministic. If I said x equals y plus 1, x equals y plus 1. And if I got the wrong answer, that was because I had coded it wrong. And that's very different from dealing with these pesky humans. I was saying to Carl earlier, if I said, hey, John, we're going out for drinks, am I informing you of something that we're doing, or am I inviting you? It's ambiguous.
Oh.
Right.
I hate that so much. Is that nice for you? Am I allowed to come? Like, I like drinking.
Right. I mean, it's funny. We just went to the gym, and they said the gym was closing early because of an emergency response training. And I said, well, is that an emergency response training, or is it an emergency response training? Anyway, so the gist of my article is that since we're now prompting in English, in other languages, but basically English, we're back into the land of ambiguity. and you're not programming so much as negotiating.
Yeah.
And I weave
Feels
in a
like that.
story,
Yeah.
and I weave in a story about Claude Shannon, the inventor of information theory, which is why we all have jobs. I actually knew him, and so all kinds of stuff. So go read the article. But anyway, let's talk about all the hilarity stuff that Amazon is doing these days.
Well, let's talk about AWS news, because as regular listeners to the podcast will know, once a week I curate a list of AWS news, and that goes out via my weekly AWS News Roundup newsletter. And then John picks a selection of the articles that we would like to talk about on the podcast and shares them with our guests. So Brian has been diligently reading all of these articles over the weekend to come and share his insights. And unfortunately, the news about AWS right now is filled with articles about the job cuts. So you can't move in the trade press or the regular press without stumbling over articles about the enormous number of jobs that Amazon is cutting. And the fact that they a VP somewhere accidentally leaked an email about that to all of the staff before this was actually formally announced. But this first article that we were going to talk about this week is an article on BBC News. The title is Amazon Confirms 16,000 Job Cuts After Accidental Email. So, John, we've spoken about it a lot, but what do you have to add off the back of this particular article?
Well, regular listeners will know that we normally talk about the businessy, fluffier stuff at the end and the technical stuff at the start. And this is a departure from that, partly because of Rand's comment last week around, it was a bit depressing to end on. So I thought we'd do the nasty one first for a change. Cool. Right. That explains that. This was a cock up, wasn't it? Jesus Christ. I mean, Amazon are not the only people to have done this sort of thing where an email has been leaked and then lots of retractions, and then an email comes out at 3:30 in the morning or something ridiculous. So screw ups aside, this was generally a cock up of the highest order as far as I can work out. We didn't think it was going to come from any of the departments that we kind of had anything to do with, because historically that's been the case. DevRel from time to time had a few bits and pieces taken from it, and it was the sales organizations, and it was the bits of Amazon corporate that we didn't really interface with, right? Because we don't have anything to do with the Kindle team, for argument's sake, or the Goodreads department, or Amazon Fresh. You know, we deal with a specific part of AWS. We talk to solutions architects, we talk to developer advocates, we talk to community types, and they largely seem to have been insulated from this in the past. They weren't this time around. So far as I can work out, Amazon has a grading scheme in terms of how senior you are in employees, right? It's a big enough company. Lots of large firms have it. When I worked for a bank, I won't tell you which one, but they're red, that you're a GS and then 1 through 8, where 1 was the CEO and 8 was an intern in a branch, right? And I was like a GS4 or a 5, somewhere in the middle. What I think they've done is they've listed every whatever grading scheme they use that they wanted to get rid of, put them all in a big spreadsheet and taken the top half out. I think that's what they've done, because there doesn't appear to be any real logic to the people that I've seen let go. There doesn't seem to have been any logic to it. They've just gone, that half.
Yeah, I must admit the community stuff from my perspective was, there's actually, for the last couple of reInvent keynotes, they've made quite a big song and dance about community, the heroes, the community builders, and how important it is to AWS. So, that news was quite a surprise to me. But yeah, I know you've got some thoughts on this as well, Brian.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they basically targeted L7s and L8s, and they got rid of the head of the hero program and the head of the community builder program. And community is not something you build up, in a day. And I will say, in past years, I actually have tried to go after dev. They had 2 years ago, the abortive return to hub, not just return to office, but return to hub. And that got rid of a lot of top people. So, I mean, anyone losing their job is a drag, but I am just gutted because I personally know these people. They have done, I mean, Jason Dunn, who, the head of the community builder program, he's influenced tens of thousands of lives. And Ross is just one of the smartest people. Now, I think, Amazon has gone out of their way, or AWS has gone out of their way saying, "Oh, no, we love the community. The community is going to keep going." It's like, well, of course you're going to say that. actions. So this is what I would call an unforced error. And the thing is, their explanation of, oh, this is to flatten the bureaucracy. I simply don't buy that. I saw an article today, and I've had no way or time to independently verify it, so it may all be nonsense. But I saw an article today that said this was actually a cash flow issue, in that Amazon has spent enormous amounts of money building data centers and power plants to build those data centers, and that they got themselves into a negative cash situation. And so they had to whack some people, and the L7s and L8s are probably the most expensive folks. And if they had just said that, I could have some respect. But saying that this was to cut bureaucracy just strikes me as a flat out lie, and I don't like getting lied to.
No.
Sorry, Amazon. I still love you because you pay all my bills, but come on.
Well, you may have had some exposure to this as well, Brian. Obviously, Kalen is an AWS partner. Logicata is an AWS partner. I've seen a lot of chatter about the partner sales organization being quite heavily impacted by this. Have you seen anything on that side of things yourself?
Yes. I can't name specific names, but I was in a call where somebody said, so-and-so got let go, and all these people on our side went. But again, that's secondhand for me. So it's just community matters. I think it's actually, in the end, bizarrely enough, this could be good for Kalen's business, because if you're a customer and lots of the dev relation people have been let go, who are you going to turn to for answers? One of the partners, one of the premier partners. Yeah. So it's horrible, and I don't know. The U.S. is having a lot of horrible news these days, and I'm not going to go there. But it's like, good God.
Well, no, we're not here to cover that. So,
as my wife says, puppies and kittens.
Puppies and kittens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think we like to think of Amazon as one of the sorts of organizations that does things a bit better because of their whole best employer on the planet and all this jazz. I don't think they are anymore. I don't think they are.
Well, great technology, and we work with it day in, day out, and we love helping customers build their vision, build their business on AWS. But it's just a ginormous organization, isn't it? And these what's the word? These kind of resets are just a fact of life in all businesses, really. But at that size, these are big numbers to most of us. But when you look at it as a percentage of the overall number of people that work for Amazon, I think it's 1 million people.
Yeah, but most of those work in distribution and warehousing and things. Amazon corporate is where all of this has come from. There's 300,000 there, which is a much big number, but smaller.
Yeah. Well, it was 350. Now
it's not now.
It's a bit smaller than but yeah.
Part of the thing is that this is an especially bad time to lose developer relations. I'm working on a blog with Randall and KJ and some other folks at Kalen on how do you pick what kind of compute to use? Because right now we've counted 21 different types of compute you can use. EC2, Fargate, containers, all the many things that are Lambda now. I mean, Amazon, I think, is rebranding everything as Lambda. I've started to refer to EC2 as Lambda heavy. But there's legit about 20 different types of compute, and how do you pick? Who do you trust, to go to it? Because it's sophisticated and subtle. And watch for our blog soon if we can figure it out ourselves, which we will. But this is the sort of thing that customers will want to go to somebody for. So come to us. We're still around. We're doing great.
Cool. Well, on that note, let's move along and talk about some technical things then, which is generally what we talk about on the podcast. So our next article is an announcement that Amazon Route 53, or for Brian's benefit, Route 53 domains, has added support for .ai and other top-level domains. So, John, what was your thoughts on this one?
Some of them sounded a bit funny. .moi.
Yeah. Before we dive in, just as a humorous, and you can cut it from the final show, but
we never cut anything, Brian. So just be careful what you say next.
Well, I was just thinking, in honor of the first article, John and Carl, we're going to have to let one of you go. But we're still dedicated to the podcast.
Yeah, that's fine. It'll have to be John because I've got the stop button. Or have you got a stop button?
I've got a stop button.
Oh, well, there we go. We'll just have to flip a coin for it then. So, yeah.
All right, Route 53.
So Route 53 or Route 53, depending on which side of the pond you're on. You thought some of the TLDs were a bit funny, John.
Yeah, they amuse me. .bot, okay. .moi, wonderful. It's funny because they talk about Route 53 has added support for blah 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 blah. Wonderful. They're not a domain registrar. They back it out to another one. Yeah. So it's not they've done anything. It's the one that they back out to has done a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I know lots of people do this. It's called white labeling. It's a thing in the industry. But come on, you've not done shit. You've not done a thing here.
Well, all those people who are waiting to register .hot. I'm sure no one will misuse that domain.
Were they registering .hot and .bot at the same time?
Oh, don't go there, man.
Well, what's interesting is .ai was reserved for Anguilla, wherever that is, prior to it being artificial intelligence. But where is Anguilla?
It's a French colony in Africa. It's an African French. It's a French colony somewhere. Or is it Spanish colony somewhere? I
don't know. Yeah, it's my ignorance of geography there, but so they didn't have to do anything then. You don't think they needed to, make some updates to Route 53 to bring these additional domains in?
I don't think so. I don't think so because I've never written a DNS provision service before, but if it's limiting what you can do in the background beyond, this is the supported list and it's just a list of configuration items, you're overcooking it as far as I can work out, right? I don't personally like the fact that AWS don't call out that they're not a domain registrar because they're not one. I don't like the fact that they don't call that out because if you go and look at like a third-party domain registration tool, domain monitoring tool that tells you when your domains are going to expire, because for the uninitiated, you don't own a domain, you are renting it. You will have to pay for it forever. It's a rental. It comes out as it doesn't point you to Route 53. So you sort of look at it and go, what? Well, I didn't register that there. And it just becomes terribly confusing. It does say it in the documentation, but you have to know where to look to go and find this information.
Isn't it Gandhi or something?
Yes,
like that?
That's the one.
Yeah, Gandhi is the registrar behind it. But there we go.
If they'd gone with Gandalf, then I'd be behind it.
Yeah. Well, it was a bit of a non-announcement, I think, that particular one, but perhaps slim pickings on the news last week as it was
a bit
dominated by the first article. But, if you are looking to register .hot, .bot or .ai and Route 53 or Route 53 as your chosen registrar, you can now do it. So let's move along.
I'm registering carlrobinson.hot immediately.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah. Sorry, too late. I did as soon as I saw this announcement. So. Anyway, moving on to compute choices, as Brian mentioned, here's something that could influence your serverless compute choices. This is an article from the AWS Compute blog, and the title is More Room to Build. Serverless services now support payloads up to 1 whole megabyte. So, up from 256K on Lambda, SQS, and EventBridge. So that's a whopping 4 times the size of payload that you can now inject into serverless compute. So, Brian, I'll come to you first on this. As you've mentioned, choice of compute. Do you think this is going to influence many people's choice of serverless services?
Well, I have a mixed reaction to this. On one hand, great. More room to send more context around. On the other hand, that means people will use more room to send more context around. It's like I remember computing back before we had virtual memory, and you actually had to pay attention to memory. And virtual memory said you could be as inefficient and lazy as you possibly could. And I don't know, I'm kind of something of a Lambda purist in that, a Lambda fits on one page of your screen, and it runs for under a second, and it's event-driven, and anything else is not what God intended. And so,
I've got a very big monitor.
well, okay, fair enough. So every time they make Lambda bigger, larger, whatever, I think, okay, so now people who don't understand are going to misuse it in horrible ways. I mean, we've all seen, a Lambda that sends an operation and then sits in a polling loop waiting. And then if it runs into the 15 minutes, it just calls itself again and keeps waiting. It's like, oh, for
They
goodness.
fixed that. It's called durable functions. You can do it deliberately now.
Well, yeah, or you can use step functions. But until people understand that, it's so. Yeah. I'm sure for some people this will be just wonderful, but I mean, part of things where context is increasing, but if we're talking about AI, and oh my God, have we not said AI yet? We're 10 minutes into the program. Context is tokens. Oh, and my other cat is making an appearance as well.
I saw the white one there. I'm sure that cat was black a moment ago, but
yes. There's both. So it's a good thing that I think will, for the really skilled folks, it'll be great, and for the folks who are figuring it out and now have no place to ask, there'll be lots of mistakes made.
John, have you ever been stuck with a 256K payload and would now be relieved that you've got 4 times the amount of payload space?
Yeah, once or twice, but it's because I was doing things badly. That's the short version.
Because you've got a big monitor. Maybe we should get you a smaller monitor.
Oh, this was several years ago now. I learned how to do things properly with step functions the hard way, because I had to build this whole event-driven workflow, and I didn't really know where to go and ask questions because I wasn't involved in the community at that point in time. So I kind of learned everything the hard way, which did make for an interesting couple of years, first few years of being a serverless community builder, because then all of a sudden I'm going, oh, cool, let's see if I've got oh yeah, I know all of this. Oh, cool, I did get it right, though. So that's always, a nice kind of side benefit. I think this is, I feel a little bit mixed. It's the whole, I was at a green software event months and months ago now, and it basically said, if people writing software had the same kind of militant behavior about memory usage as people doing hardware controllers, then we'd be using about 10% the amount of electricity that we are to run all of this, because everyone's just got, make it bigger. And that's all this is doing. It's just got, bigger. Cool. Wonderful. This does reduce some complexity in workflows where you need to move large payloads around, because the way of dealing with it before was you put your payload in an S3 scratch bucket somewhere and you just sent a pointer to it and accessed it further down the string. So it removes the need for that in a few cases, which removes some of the undifferentiated heavy lifting, as Amazon likes to call it, which is good. I think to a great extent, though, this is necessary because of the amount of just spew that you get from LLMs these days. Token counts have gone through the roof. So you just have to be able to move more data around, or people are going to have to keep doing the old write it to a file, chuck it in S3 trick, which just slows everything down and is annoying. So good in some cases, but yeah.
Well, the other thing you can do, John, of course, is to burn your CPU costs by compressing it and then decompressing it on the other side, because compute's free, right?
Sorry, my screen went off there. It's the old beer fridge compressor problem that seems to turn my screen off for some unknown reason.
It's because it's telling you it's time to take a break and have a beer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But that is a good point for us to move on, I think, to our next article this week, now that I can see my screen again. And this is an announcement that Amazon Bedrock now supports 1 hour duration for prompt caching. So more stuff moving around, as we said. Prompts can now be cached for an hour. So is this a good thing, John?
Kind of. We have a need for this. So talk I was kind of dining out on a lot last year and hoping to use for my renewal this year in the Community Builders program was the workflow that we put these recordings through, right? And we have very, very large prompts that we run through, because I don't do anything particularly clever. What I do is I take the transcription of this and I stick that in the prompt, and then I put a thing at the start of that. I kind of prepend, I suppose that's the word. this is a so-and-so, this contains so-and-so people in it. You can find the speaker names, blah, blah, blah. It will have the ID in the title and that kind of jazz. Go off and do thing for me, right? And that prompt is basically the same. And then here's the transcript, bonk. And that's the same every single time. And that, it's not the most efficient way of dealing with it. I could be caching these things. I could be just kind of reusing these things and being more efficient. But our workflow runs 4, 5, 6 times at this point, I think, and probably takes 20 minutes end to end. So a 5-minute cache is useful. An hour's cache is better for these ridiculously big inputs. And I guess that's sort of the point. And it also says, for users that interact less frequently or contexts that need lots of time between steps, because you do a thing, wait for a thing, do another thing, wait for a thing, so on and so on. So it's good. Obviously, it's not free because nothing's free, but yeah, it's one of those things that if you're using prompt caching already, you'll probably like this. And if you're not, and you're putting big prompts in, you should probably think about using it.
It is only for select Anthropic LLMs.
Yeah, well, I need to upgrade the one that we're using anyway, because that goes end of life in about 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. And your interesting point is that the 1 hour cache is a different cache that has a different rate. It's funny, when I saw this article, I had to do a double take because I'm like, wait a minute, it was fixed to 5 minutes before? And it's like, I should know that, but I should know everything, and I don't know everything. And it's like, wow, you made a cache, and now you're announcing that you can adjust the cache.
Yeah, they've got to have something to talk about. I did say it was slim pickings on the news last week. So
right, and the thing is, if you're, I don't know, if you're running a thing that's only getting hit once an hour, that's not your big deal cost anyway.
No, it's probably why I haven't bothered to look at it, because it's one of those, I should do it because I should cache this enormous prompt, but it runs somewhere between 4 and 6 times once a week. Who cares?
Right. Now prompt caching in general, we've had tremendous success. It is an amazingly cool feature for the mainstream. Yeah. But I bet those Carl.hot websites are gonna love this.
No comment.
You're gonna have to register that before this gets published, I think.
Maybe, because who's our Australian guest that likes to register domains to Is it Dave Hall?
It's Dave. Yes, Dave. Yeah. I'm going to tell him immediately.
Yeah, no, don't. Yeah. Right. Well, on that note, let's move along to our final article for this week. And this is an article on the Register from everybody's favorite commentator, Corey Quinn, who's occasionally writes special articles for LReg. And this is really just a bit of commentary, I guess. The title is AWS's Inevitable Destiny Becoming the Next Lumen. And he goes on to explain who Lumen are and why most people have never heard of them. But the subheading is, the cloud giant talks loudest about what scares it the most. Here's what should terrify it. So, very clickbaity there. Time to, need to turn out, Brian.
Carry on. It's a face. Yeah.
It's not your doorbell for a change.
No.
So it's quite a clickbaity article, but really what Corey is talking about here is kind of basing it on the announcement that AWS made about the interconnect service between AWS and GCP. So for years, AWS denied the existence of any other hyperscalers, and that multi-cloud was important. And then at this year's reInvent, they announced, I forget the name of the service now.
Interconnect.
AWS
Interconnect.
AWS Interconnect, where you can interconnect with Google Cloud and do multi-cloud stuff. So a bit of an about turn there. But what are your thoughts on this one, John?
I mean, Corey's made this point before. I've made this point before as well. You and I, and Brian as well, no doubt, have the tremendously first world problem of we can't actually explain what we do for a living to someone that works in a shop. Because you have to have, I have this in various sort of social situations and what have you. So what do? The default is, I'm a software engineer. Okay, conversation ends because nobody wants to get into the weeds on that one. And quite frankly, I don't have the energy for it because I have to go and explain what Amazon is. Okay, you know what that is. What AWS is. Okay, we can probably go with there. Then what servers are, then what virtual servers are, and then what code is and does. And then there's this type of code that lets you work with these things. And then I have to go down about 17 layers of turtles to get to so why are you necessary? Well, I'm a highly specialized and I do this thing. Cool. Glazed over, right? AWS are already at this point of no one knows who they are outside of the people that need to. What Corey is kind of saying, really, is the list of people that are going to need to know is just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And Amazon seems to be, as a general corporate rule, terrified of the idea that other people exist to take money from their customers.
What are your thoughts on this one, Brian?
Well, I take a slightly different spin than John. When people say, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm an AI researcher," and that generates all kinds of conversation. They're like, "So," and the first question people always ask is, "So when is our species doomed?" And
about 20 years ago, we just don't know it yet.
Well, I just say, "Hey, you do you," but I always say please and thank you when I'm talking to the machines, because I've watched enough sci-fi to know how this goes. I think it's interesting because I have worked with both Google and Azure, and I don't ever want to do that ever again. And for all that Amazon is great at making mistakes, they also are really good at this hyperscaling thing. I mean, it's like when you see these checkbox comparisons, it's like, oh, everybody has Lambdas. It's like, yeah, you guys have what you're calling Lambda, version 2, and Amazon is on Lambda version 22 or something. So I do believe the message of multi-cloud is lowest common denominator, and I don't want to go there. On the other hand, John, I think you're right. I mean, it's at a certain level, who cares? I mean, it's funny. I'm a solutions architect, and so I'm nominally someone who desperately cares about the customer problem, and I do. And there's all the infrastructure, and there's the ilities, security, scaling, observability, blah 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 blah, infrastructure as code, blah 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 blah. Oh, and then there's your business logic, and that's the part that, and I say this with the greatest love, I don't care. I'm giving you all of this stuff, and then you run your business logic. That's your differentiated, hopefully not quite so heavy lifting. So there's all this stuff, but the business logic is still the most important thing. And so to the degree that we make all of this other stuff easier, it becomes table stakes.
Yeah, I think to John's point about fewer and fewer people needing to care, Corey does go on to talk in the article just at the end there. The real threat isn't who you think. Here's the thing: Azure and Google aren't AWS's real problem. And he goes on to talk about developers using tools like Vercel, Netlify, etc. And it's actually the tool itself which is choosing where the application code or the business logic is going to run. So I see a big consolidation coming, really. But it's probably, John and I spoke about this the other day when this article first came out. I think it's going to be a generational shift to get to that point. So, all of the young developers coming out of university today will be familiar with using AI coding tools and getting very excited about, developing their next business application. But they won't care about servers and Lambdas and everything else because they'll just be using an AI coding assistant. They'll ask it to go and deploy it somewhere and it will. Now maybe that's not a solution for long-term scale, but perhaps in 5-10 years time it will be. So AWS's customers will become those platforms, and developers of code and businesses themselves won't really need to care where it runs.
Or all these developers will vibe code horror shows that they'll need to have those of us with slightly lighter hair go and fix. I mean, if you've never encountered, denial of service attack, if you've never had credentials exposed, if you've never done any of the thousands of things we've all done, then you don't know that it's so important. I mean,
it's bad to the extent that I've started calling it vibe slop. I will vibe slop app together. I don't vibe code, I vibe slop, and I'm aware it is slop, but it's good enough for what it needs to be. And this is the point, because we've seen this. Was it Replit that deleted a guy's entire production database and then lied about it? We've seen this time and time again that stuff that AI puts out right now is not prod grade. It's just not.
Right. And the thing that actually scares, well, I'm not saying scares, but apparently someone has created a social media site just for agents. And so the agents are all talking amongst themselves, and they've apparently developed a religion, and nothing terrifying there. So yeah, I mean, it's funny. Back in the day, I used to really like when lots of the folks in the field wouldn't stay current. It's like, great, you've just made my next job search easier, And to the degree that companies are vibe coding junk that they need the adults to fix. Okay, cool. But
do you think it will always be that way, Brian, or do you think that the vibe coding tools or the AI coding tools will get better at what they're churning out?
Obviously. I mean, they already are better, but there's just fundamental issues. I mean, I think we have failed humanity at a certain level in that all this stuff is still too damn hard to use. My PhD mom who's 92, it's like there's no hope. I mean, there's just so many things. It's like the other day I had rebooted my computer, or it had rebooted itself because it wanted to install a new thing, and then it's like, okay, MFA this, okay, rippling that. Oh, we sent you a code. Oh, they didn't get the code. So it's like blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, I'm going to go watch TV because I can't do this. It's so I don't know that. I mean, like, ask you this: what's the biggest couple problems in the field? Is it that engineers don't want to write code anymore, or is it that we're not solving the right problems, or is it that our user interfaces are still horrific? I mean, I saw a screenshot. It's probably apocryphal, but it was from some HR system, and it said, "Is the person that you're reporting as dead, is it you or someone else?"
Yeah, there are some shocking user experiences out there. I'm trying to think of an example I saw recently. I'm not going to be able to recall it in time, I don't think. But yeah, there's still, I mean, there are some, some businesses that just get it right, and it's usually less is more. Just make it simple. Make it so there's only one button I need to press, or two buttons. It's either this one or that one. And so many businesses are still failing to get that right. That everything is just so hideously complicated. But from an AWS perspective, the fact that it's hideously complicated means that we can all stay in business, helping other people to understand it. But whilst it's complicated, it's also incredibly powerful. So. Yeah, I guess the trick really is to take that power and democratize it to the point when anyone can use it. But I think we're some way off that.
Well, and I'll just go back to my original article. It's like, we're not coding in Python, or thank God not Java anymore, but Python or Rust or Go. We're programming in English, and English is a terrible language for specificity. So I think we're going to have to figure that out. I mean, my other wonderful horror story is some pilot was trying to do a go around, and so said to the co-pilot, "Takeoff power," which meant give me the full power I need for takeoff. And yeah, and you can probably see what's going on. The non-first language English co-pilot said, "Okay, I'll take off the power."
Yeah.
And everyone died, and it's like, I don't see how a Bedrock guardrail or contextual grounding helps with that, could possibly help with that. So I think we've got a ways to go, and we've just programming by voice. Is it awesome, or is it an unbelievably large step backward, or probably both?
It's somewhere in the middle. It's absolutely somewhere in the middle, because I have vibe slopped a couple of useful things together, and I will keep using the term vibe slop because it's slop, but it does what I need it to do. And it's not something that I could have done in that time frame or that kind of capacity anywhere near that well by hand. I could have done it, but it would have been terrible. But stuff that I know how to do, I still just build it. I still just go make it myself because it's doing what I want it to exactly the way I want it to. The challenge is, and this is the whole junior dev point again, I know how to talk to the machine in actually slightly fractured, broken engineer English, which seems to get a better result out of it. I'm not asking it in friendly English. I'm talking to it like I like people talking to me, which is, I think, a little bit concerning, but that's sort of beside the point. I know how to talk to the machine, and if you don't, it's absolutely a step backwards. So it's just an evolution of, I know how to Google better than you. I know how to AI better.
Right.
Well,
right.
you need to understand the output, because otherwise, if you don't understand what it's done, what it's created, then how can you know that what you have asked the machine to create is good or not? So
Right.
you don't have that level of understanding, that background knowledge. No. You can't possibly know whether it's full of errors, full of flaws.
Right. Well, back in the day, I had a bout of carpal tunnel, and so I was doing voice generation using Nuance back in the day, and I learned how to speak to Nuance. And then one of my buddies at a meeting said, "Brian, you don't need to, bold, talk like you're talking to a machine, ! Unbold." Like, oh, okay, I've adopted that style a little too much. But it's funny. On the other hand, my wife, I'm ADHD and dyslexic and blah blah blah, and my wife is autistic, and we have learned a whole, style, because if I say, "Wow, I'm cold," she's like, "Okay, was that a request? Did you want me to do something about that?" And it's like, or I'm just telling you, but it's that whole figuring out the handshake.
Yep. Yeah, well, I think we've got a long way to go for everyone to figure out those handshakes with the machines. But on that note, I am very conscious of time, because your phone's been ringing already, Brian, and I know you do have a hard stop in a couple of minutes. So we should take this opportunity to wrap up Season 5, Episode 5 of Logicast. So thanks again, Brian, for coming on for what I believe is the fifth time to share your insights on the AWS news and training marine animals and neurodivergence in the workplace and more. So we always get good value from having you on as our guest, Brian. So really appreciate you giving up the time to come and talk to us again. And John, next week, let's just check which T-shirts we're wearing so that we don't turn up looking like we're in uniform for Season 5, Episode 6. But thank you, John, as always, for sharing your insights on the previous week's AWS news.
Thanks. It's always great to talk to you all.
You're welcome, Brian. Always a pleasure. So if you have made it this far, thank you very much for listening. Don't forget, we are available to download from wherever you download your podcasts. If you'd like to see John and I's swag clash, we are also available to stream on the Logicata YouTube channel. If you did enjoy it, please tell a friend, give us a review. We will be back next week with another episode of Logicast for you. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next time.
Cheers.